So, Coach, I asked your players about this, and coming into last year, nobody was picking you guys to win the SoCon. When did you know the team was going to be as special and as dominant as they were throughout the last year?
Yeah, I felt going into the season that we had a chance, honestly, to be really good because of how good our defense was going to be. There's so many veteran players and kind of known commodities on that defense that I felt like we were going to have a chance week in and week out. I think early in the season, there's really 2 weeks, right? We went on the road and beat Chat 10-3 in a night game, and it had been a while since Mercer had beat them. Been a while since we had beat them on the road, and so I thought, from a talent standpoint, they were as talented as anybody in the country, Chattanooga, that is. And so when we went up there and really just ground out an ugly victory and won with defense, special teams, and not turn the ball over, I thought that really set the tone for the rest of the year. And then I think I knew we had a chance to also be good. A week later, Helene hits, and we have to go up to Wofford, and just the maturity of our team to handle travel getting screwed up a little bit, and they only let parents in for the game, and so just kind of one of those one-off unique instances. And I felt really those 2 weeks set the tone for us to play really well throughout the season.
When you look at DJ, obviously he got off to a hot start, suffers an injury, and kind of battled that throughout the year. Where's his ceiling, and where did you want to see him take a step forward this offseason?
Yeah, I think to DJ's credit, man, he's a tough kid. I think he's a little more banged up last year than he let on, and he played so good early for us, and I think what you see is just his consistency, his accuracy. I'd like to see him expand what he can do with his legs while also being smart and getting down and doing the double-edged sword of that. But, again, just continue to develop the accuracy portion, especially with the down-the-field throws.
With Zach, man, I mean, what a talent, man. Me personally, I think defensively, by far the best freshman defensive player, if not one of the best defensive ends. For you, what made him, when did you know he was going to be what he was, and what made him so effective off the edge? Because, I mean, you don't get 14.5 tackles for loss as a true freshman by just walking in the door.
I think, the first thing that stood out to us really early on in training camp was the motor that he played with, and he's as fundamentally sound as anybody I've ever had, and he was a true freshman. And so, I think Jimmy Long, our defensive line coach, is as good as anybody in the country. You look at even just our guys that have transferred up and out. The talent and the depth in that room shown, and for Andrew, for Zach to come in as a freshman last year and not just carve a niche out for himself, but really play dominant football at times and have the effect on games that he had with critical takeaways or disruptions of the passer. And so I just think, again, it all goes back to how he plays, the motor he plays with, and then how fundamentally sound he is.
What position group on each side of the ball do you feel like is your strongest right now going into 2025?
Boy, I think offensively, there's not a lot of household names, but from a sheer depth standpoint, I feel as strongly about the group of wide receivers that we have right now. I'd say our wide receiver room and our running back room are the two deepest on the offensive side of the football. Then I think, you look at defensively, again, obviously Andrew Zach's a star in my opinion. I think he's an elite player, but I think the depth of our defensive line room, there's some seniors that play a lot of football. Caden Camise at defensive tackle, Jordan Swain, that where we have this star power of a Braden Manley or an Arius Nash. I don't know that we'll singularly have it, but the collective whole of that defensive line room is going to be really strong for us.
Linebacker was so experienced last year. You guys by far have the best linebacking core in the FCS. How do you replace those guys, and who's next to step up in that room?
You don't, honestly. I mean, You got two kids with over 300 plus tackles and a third that was nipping at their heels, and so, but we feel good. It's not like it's not a whole new group, right? Julian Fox, Mick Wasson, there's some guys, Drew Clare, that have been in that linebacker room and have been, critical pieces to our success in the special teams world, whether they were four-phase special teamers, that they've played a lot of football, and now it's their time. To their credit, they didn't cut bait and run in the transfer portal, knowing that they were behind all conference guys for several years. They've played, they've worked hard, and they've earned the right to have a chance to be a starter this year.
You guys got that first taste of the FCS playoffs. When you look at y'all's run, what was your biggest learning experience? Because everyone talks about you have to go to the FCS playoffs, take your lumps, and then you rebuild your team and come back, and that's when you make that big run. What was your biggest learning experience from that?
Yeah, I've been blessed, man. I'm a Division II guy, and I've been very fortunate to be a part of four teams that have gone to the Final Four, a couple other Elite Eight teams. I think where I was really more prepared for it than kind of that sudden moment was just you have to be critically aware of your team's health late in the year. And sometimes less is more, and making sure that they understand that in their minds they feel fresh and they're ready to go. And so I thought we did a really good job of balancing the reps with the bye week while still being highly prepared to play a really good Rhode Island team and then go on the road to North Dakota State. And that's the measuring stick, right? They got 12 out of the last 14 or something, or 11 out. Just an obscene number. And now back-to-back years, Mercer has had a chance to go on the road to South Dakota State, to go on the road to North Dakota State, and we have to continue to improve at the line of scrimmage. And I think we're real close to being there.